got my first surgery done by a different doctor. And you know, you trust your doctors. You're coming out of that surgery. This is terrible. I was in bed for a month. I don't have my natural gap. Hopeless, scared. My mom, Ashley, I found your doctor. There's so many other women probably dealing with the same situation. This can be fixed. You fixed it.
Oh, I want a beauty that will give me that glow. The kind of body that'll make them say, whoa. Get it right with the knife who slays. Beauty and the blade. Yeah. Get it right with the knife who slays. Beauty and the blade. Get it right with the knife who slays. Face and body.
Welcome back to Beauty and the Blade. I am your co-host, Dr. Edward Park, and I've got two lovely ladies here, both named Ashley, Ashley and Ashley EY Caligiuri, who is a very special guest on our show. We're going to listen to her story and her journey with face and body. But before we do that,
I love these. These are always fun to go over. So this one says, hi, this is Jackie calling from Azusa. I love listening to your show, and I have a question about breast reductions. Do you have to have an implant when having a reduction? I want one, but I'm afraid without an implant, they won't look good. Thank you so much. So, doctor, what is the answer?
well, that's actually a really, really good question. And when we do the consultation, Francis is a good patient care coordinator, and we actually do measurements on the breast. And just to break it down, if I'm doing a lift or a reduction, what I'm going to do is separate kind of the lower half and the upper half. So a lift and a reduction is going to bring everything up when the breast is low, but it's really important in the majority of times. I always say the implant is creating cleavage. So the implant is, once it's behind the lifted breast tissue, is really creating that upper pole fullness. So I would say in about 90 to 95% of the time, I am combining a lift reduction with an implant to give you that perfect cleavage.
Right. So it's all depending on what you go. I know you're always asking your patients, like, please bring in a wish pic because I want to know what your ending goal is. So just knowing that from the patient. Maybe some people don't even care about the upper cleavage.
I mean, you went through a little bit about that in terms of implant versus lift.
Do I have a journey.
There are a few surgeries we've done together. You want to care to share a little bit? Overall.
Okay, so just a little short story. So when I was 19 years old, I had a breast augmentation, and it was so crazy. Then I ended up going to my post-op appointment, and that surgeon was asking me all these questions, like, what do you do for a living? What do you know? And I'm like, why is he asking me? He's like, would you want to work here for me? And I'm like, yeah. So then I started working there, and a few months later, he was asking me, like, because I just felt that, my breast just didn't look good. I thought that once I had them done, I was gonna, and I was young, like, whatever, I don't know, young and wild days. But So he says, I suggest let's go with a little bit of a bigger implant, and I think you'll like it a lot better. So he does my surgery. I wake up from surgery. I'm now recovering at my friend's house. And I remember looking down and seeing my chest bone just look like it's like gonna like pop out. And I was like, gosh, like I must really be so swollen because each breast is like bigger than my head. Whoa. Like, and I'm like, oh no.
How many cc's?
So then I go back to work a week later, and I look at my chart, and it says 900 cc's.
Whoa.
So no joke, they're like huge. And
quick note, the FDA now stops at 800. So you were, I believe, saline overfilled.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Seems like it happens a lot.
Right. And
a lot. Back in the day, yes.
Yeah, and he was actually known to be like the big
huge
Pamela Anderson like implant look.
Right.
So then years go on, I end up having a baby, and I remember we were at my friend's wedding in Vegas, and I'm carrying my son, and we're walking through the pool. And there was like these group of younger like guys, and they're like, they had beads and stuff, and they're like, show me your bra or boobs, whatever, I'll give you a bead. And I'm like, Oh my gosh. How embarrassing. They're going to say, I have a baby on my hip, you know? So then I asked my husband, I'm like, you know what? I think I want to take these out, go with a smaller implant. He's like, well, honey, like if we take them out, go with a smaller implant, you're going to have a lift. So that was something that I kind of like had to like think about, do I want that scar? Like at this point, I'm only like 20, I think I was 22, 23 years old, somewhere around there. And I'm like, gosh, like, I don't know if I, want that. And he's like, well, this is how it'll be. Like, you just bring in like a bikini top or a bra that you would want to hide the scar. And he did like a different little bit of a curve. I don't know, you know the
hardest surgery I've ever done. I'm not lying. Let me just tell you, number one, it's because I'm operating on my wife. That is a little bit of pressure. I'm going to sleep with her every night and hear her results.
Yeah, so you better make them look perfect.
So I do. I aim for perfection. But I will tell you this, going from downsizing, which is a very common practice right now, we go through trends, surgical trends. So we went big, like she said, Pamela Anderson in the 80s and 90s, and nowadays everyone wants to be more proportional. So all the large-breasted patients are coming in and wanting to go smaller. Well, the issue of going smaller, and I use a lot of analogies, for example, a purse. Let's say you're tailoring a large purse to a smaller purse. You can't just cut the leather on the outside. I have to go in the pocket and reconstruct that entire internal capsule, which is a tremendous amount of work. It takes a lot of meticulous suturing to get that right. So you do need to go to someone that has more of a reconstructive background. And I will tell you, I learned all these techniques through breast cancer reconstruction and working on some very difficult cases. So that being said, I'll let you continue, but that was a challenging case because if I remember correctly, we went from like 960 to like
900 to 360.
So that's 600 cc's difference. That's a very large kind of a reconstruction, if you will.
Yeah. So then, I stayed with that size for quite some time, but I was like, gosh, like, I started out, no joke. I grew up, I didn't want to be in a bathing suit because it took one person that said, oh my gosh, like said it to my cousin, but was talking about me. Like, what's with your cousin? Why does she look like she has two backs? And I'm like, I'm never going out in front of these people again. And it just makes you more self-conscious. So then with going with a smaller implant, I'm like, can I go a little bit bigger?
Here we
So
go.
I went a little bit
Here
bigger.
we go. Another trend I work with, okay, is going, and we really want to follow, try to get things right the very first times in terms of proportionality. I see it too often, too big, too small. If we hit the middle, and she did go through that, but we don't want to go through real extremes with any form of plastic surgery. You are going to want to end up kind of more in the middle and being proportional. And I think we got it right.
I was expecting my very first surgery to look how they look now.
Yeah.
I just love,
And just a quick comment, as we kind of dovetail into Ash Cali, is that, sometimes I won't get it right. And this is really important, right? I'm not perfect as a surgeon, but what's important is that what is your backup plan? I need to discuss that with you. And if I don't get it right, I'm here to try to get that solution worked out with you. And it's not like we're charging you a ton of money. I want you to be happy, but there is going to be a revision rate in any surgery and a small percentage of that, whether it's 2% or 4%. So we did go through that with you. And I even think when Ashley, our guest, goes through that, we went through another revision. But our goal is to get you to your dream body.
Yeah.
So I hope you're happy, honey.
Yes, I'm very happy. And that was my story. But I want to hear yours.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to yours in a sense. But I, was younger and I didn't really have any breasts either. I was an athlete. I played soccer and kind of was made fun of too. So very conscious of my front. And I also, I'm a personal trainer, online coach. And so that started very early on for me in my career as far as my business now. And when you put yourself out there, people look at your body, they judge, they critique, and you're the hardest critic on your own too. So
That's
I'm
true.
like, okay, I just want my boobs on. I want to be proportionate. I want to be confident more than anything. I never really wanted to go large and be in charge type situation, but I just wanted to be confident.
Yeah.
So I got my first surgery done by a different doctor. And I remember coming out of that surgery and there was nothing as far as like sizing, like what you were talking about. And you know, you trust your doctors. You don't really know. A lot of these people, myself included, are naive going in here wanting to trust your doctors. And I was so excited and I'm trusting his word and I want to do saline. He just mentioned that he's going to have to do 100 cc's more than whatever I wanted. And with the little bra that I had on, they didn't look big. So I'm thinking like, oh, okay, like whatever, you know, you say. I remember coming out of that surgery in so much pain, I could hardly breathe. Like I would look down and like, just like you thought you were just so swollen. I'm like, my gosh, this is what it really feels like? Like, this is terrible. Like I can barely breathe. Like the ride home from Newport to, you know, Rancho Cucamonga was just like a headache. It was just so hard. I was in bed for literally a month. I could not really do anything. And I'm like, this just didn't feel right. But still just trying to trust the process and everything. So long story short, comes to a year and I'm like, okay, this is just, I don't feel confident. There's something wrong here. I ended up going back to the doctor who I had the surgery and was just saying like, listen, like this implant on my left side is so large and it hurts. And I don't have my natural gap in between my breasts. Like this doesn't seem right.
Can you talk about what implant size you went with real quick?
Yeah, so it was saline, and gosh, I think it was like around 650.
Oh,
so I was an
that's a
A
good
cup.
size.
Yeah, so I was an
Good
A
size.
cup, probably as big as my palm, you know, a little handful, but nothing, you know, where I was like, dang, that's huge, you know? And I'm like, I'm not even trying to put like a bra size on because, you know, I think it changes with the CCs and all that.
How many years ago was this?
Geez, this was back in 2019.
Okay.
So that's when I first had my first surgery, because I remember it was like right before COVID. Had that surgery, went back to him a few times, and I remember I drove back to Newport area where he had his surgical spot at. He was actually telling me it was my fault.
Oh.
And I was like, there's no way this could be my fault. How is this my fault? And so mentally and emotionally, that just took the biggest toll on me, because here I am wanting to be confident, have breasts, and feel this new version and what so of myself. And now he's kind of crushing all of that. And now I feel, you know, hopeless, scared, in pain, all of these things. So I ended up going back to a doctor that I previously had consultations with, and he just was straight out just said, hey, listen, I've never, you know, had this happen to any of my patients, nor do I have to correct it. It ended up being that I had somatia. Somatia. Can never get that word right. Oh my goodness.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I
it
can't
is.
either.
It doesn't matter how many times I practice it. So basically meaning like the implant was going inwards and I had like a boob tube.
Right.
Yeah.
And
like a uniboob.
yeah, and it was so embarrassing. So I mean, you can only imagine all of the emotions and everything that goes through your head as a woman too, and being in, you know, putting my body out there and like, you know, being a personal coach, I'm like model, all these things. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so, like, I feel more insecure than I ever did before. So very hopeless, very scared, didn't know who or what to turn to until my mom was having her facelift, tummy tuck, gosh, I don't know, all of these things. And she was like, called me up out of nowhere. And she's like, Ashley, I found your doctor. It gives me chills right now. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, we're going to get your boobs fixed. Like, I found your doctor. He's here in Upland, and his name's Dr. Edward Park. And I'm just like, when can I see him? I call immediately, had a consultation. And if I remember correctly, I literally was just in there crying and just so grateful that I like came across you guys, because from a genuine experience and from my heart, like, I am so grateful that not only care for your clients, and it can even put me in tears right now, because it's like, there's so many other women out there that are probably dealing with the same situation and don't know where to turn to. And that's why when you asked to be on the show, I said, absolutely. Like, I want this testimony to be so powerful to reach other women out there, because this can be fixed, and you fixed it. And you've brought my confidence up a whole other level. I'm so excited with my breasts, and like, I just don't know what else I would do. Like, I was so lost and confused. And
So you had saline to begin with?
yes.
And then now what do you have?
So we switched to silicone,
Okay.
which I was grateful for, because they're like
smaller size, right?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say smaller size. Like they're just more, like I was saying, like proportion
Right.
to my body. It wasn't like we're going crazy. You know, everyone compliments me on my boobs. Like when I'm on sports bra and this, that. Like I'm sending so many people to him.
Oh, yeah.
But I did do my first competition show with WBFF, and I won my show. I was really excited about that. So thank you.
Awesome,
Sponsored by Face and
awesome.
Body. And through that time, I believe through my training, you know, your work is so amazing that I forgot that I had the situation that I had. So I'm just living day by day, you know, but forgetting that I did have sutures in there. And I think just by working out and, you know, putting a lot more strenuous on my body, I think I did pop. Like I remember feeling a warm sensation and I was like, uh-oh, please don't say that's what I did. So I call Fran. Because Face and Body, everyone's just family. We're close-knit over here, and I absolutely am so grateful for that. But I'm like, girl, we're FaceTiming. I'm showing her my breasts. I'm like, there's something wrong. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I know you wanted to wait like a year and all this. And I'm like, fine. Like, we'll wait. And I remember I came back from Nashville, and that's when I was like, all right, there's something wrong here. And so that's when we went in the second time, and you kind of saw that it was my fault. I broke the suture.
No, I wouldn't say that.
But life to happen. And now, you know, I just had my surgery in November. It's almost March now. So I'm 3 months in. I feel great. I'm back to working out. And this time around, it honestly put me in tears when I got home because
I love to hear that.
yeah, like it really, I can even get emotional about it right now because it's just
Don't
something.
get emotional because I'm a crier. You'll get
I'm
me
just,
going.
whew!
Then he's
But
gonna
you can
start
really
crying.
tell
I
this
bet.
is like, you know, this is real. This is a real
Yeah.
testimony. Like you guys really did help me in many ways than one. And I don't know. This is where I should have been in the beginning, you know. But I'm grateful that it led me to you guys, and I'm beyond excited about, you know.
Well, we are so blessed that you came to us.
Yeah.
But I want to
too,
kind of go
thank you.
into, I mean, I think a lot of people, when they're going to have surgery, they're like, you know, the night before, like, what were you thinking the night before your surgery? Or, you know, because you
that's a good
had
question.
the issue from the previous. So I just want to know, like, what were your thoughts?
You know what? When I first met Dr. Park, I just felt it in my soul that I was in the right spot.
Right.
So I knew that I trusted you without a doubt. And I was excited more than anything. I mean, it's surgery, so obviously, you know, there's a little scarce there, but I'm all like, you know, it'll be fun afterwards. I'll be loopy and it'll be funny and we'll make fun of myself, you know, whatever. But I was more excited to see what was going to happen from there. And I was open-minded and I was just trusting God. You know, I prayed about it and I just, like I said, I felt it in my soul and I just knew that I was in the right spot, the right time. And it was funny because the doctor that I originally was going to go to was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's like, oh, you're in the perfect spot. So it was just confirmation everywhere where I was at, you know, because for him to be so honest and genuine of saying, hey, I can't fix this, I can't, you know, I've never created this, that I respected, you know, and because obviously the doctor that I would say botched me. There was none. It was just more, in my eyes, I felt it was just a money thing, you know? And so when you come to somebody who genuinely is looking out for not only your best interest, but you know, what you want too. In my case, it was like, hey, I want to feel confident, redo these babies and, you know, feel myself. I felt that. So I was really excited.
Went through that, just to go over some of the details, as she mentioned, symastia, which is when the cleavage does kind of elevate, and again, the implants look like, or the breasts look like they're connected, is a very, very rare complication. And so one of my questions I was going to ask you is, did you go back to the first doctor, and I guess you did mention, like they said, he might have said it was your fault, which is awful, by the way, but did he offer a solution or like, hey, this is how we would fix it, or or any of that?
Nothing. I mean, he literally just said, this is your fault. Like, there's nothing we can do kind of thing. Which is a blessing, you know, because it's like, to be honest with you, I really didn't want to kind of go back underneath, you know, and have him open me up.
Go to that particular practice out in Newport, you said?
So I was originally going to go with a doctor named Dr. Troy Andreasen. I had an old client of mine, and, you know, not to get too much in detail or throw anybody out underneath the bus because that's not my point of it, but really I got scared of going in. This lady spoke me out of it, got me all scared of going to him, and I didn't even understand why, but I was young and naive, and so I was like, okay, like, she's like, go to this doctor, we've been in this practice for so long, et cetera, was giving me all of these crazy stories. So that's what made me turn to him, young and naive, not doing my research, all these things. When I went there, I was trusting everything that she was telling me in that moment, and was like, okay, well, I'm trusting the whole situation, you know? But as time went on and things went on, I was like, this is just not right. Like, just morally as a person. And I mean, I left this part out. I don't think I ever even told you, but right before I was going to go into surgery, my dad and him kind of got into it. My dad's like, he's like, these are too big, you know, all crazy. Like, I'm like, what, Dad? Like, I'm an adult. Like, leave me alone. Calm down. You're getting them all riled up. Like, it was a whole thing. And I just felt like it was, honestly, looking back, like God shots, and just saying, hey, don't do this. And I just wanting so bad, you know, like you're saying, like, I just wanted my confidence. Like, I was self-conscious for such a long time. It was just something I was just like chasing, you know, but also not staying present in the moment and trusting the whole situation. So it ended up.
You brought up a lot of, you know, and I think that's what we try to do. I know Ashley and I, when we have consultations, I think the number one thing we want to develop is that trust that you're talking about. But that isn't the only thing. I think it's also very, very important that you understand the entire plan, and nothing to your fault, but a lot of the times us surgeons are saying a particular plan, you should be this size and this is how we should do it. I really encourage patients to kind of ask a lot of questions. I really try to listen. And as far as sizing, I think that is a fundamental thing that I really want the patient to see their size on a picture or a visual so that we are on the same page. And I think one of the mistakes is exactly that argument is, here's the surgeon and dad kind of saying this is too big. Well, immediately, if there's kind of a miscommunication, sizing is everything. And clearly 650, I would immediately look at her and say, well, that's just a little bit too large. So I think that initial judgment by that surgeon was a little bit extreme. But
I mean, clearly the results spoke for themselves.
Yeah, so we did go down to a more proportional size. I believe you're 390 or 4-ish?
Yeah, somewhere like, or I believe.
Right around.
I have no idea. I was like, I'm happy. Like, whatever we're
What's
at.
that, Fran has it. Yeah, we're right about 410, 400.
Yeah, that seems like
and but I think once again, you know, the way I do sizing, just to kind of go over, if you are going to do a consultation, by the way of which, call us at 1-888-900-9065, 1-888-900-9065. I'm going to spend a lot of time sizing, and I go through a trilogy approach of sizing. There's a science behind it. You need to be measured. So we're going to do 3 specific measurements on the chest so that the diameter of the implant fits the diameter of the breast. That's step 1. Step 2 is your surgeon should be artistic. The way I do artistry is by looking at many, many photos and visuals. This communication is so important. Your D cup and my D cup could be completely off, 650, 400. So I go through a lot of pictures. My patient care coordinator, Francis, who's right over there, is very, very detailed in getting a visual. This is your dream, ladies, and I need to see your dream. So the pictures are secondly important. And the final trilogy is sizing you in surgery. If someone is just going to pop one implant and think it's great, they're not going to be perfect. So I have sizers. I put them in the body while in surgery. I sit you up. I'm looking at your photo and making sure that this matches. It's kind of like if you go to Nordstrom's and you try on a size 7, it might not fit. You might be a 6.5. So sizing is very, very important. You got to be super meticulous with your surgeon on sizing. So they may have been off a little bit. More importantly is your surgeon has to go over complications and how he is going to fix them. If this surgeon is saying, hey, I don't know how to fix emastia, in fact, that second consultation that said, hey, I don't do much of these, refer you over to someone else. For example, I'm not going to do reconstructive rhinoplasties because that's not my expertise, but I do a lot of breast cancer reconstruction. So this was right up my alley with Ashley, and I felt this was something that we could get really nice result with.
Yeah, and we definitely did. So I'm grateful beyond measures for it.
And I
really.
have a question. So because you had a bigger implant and then you went down a size, did you have to do a lift or no lift?
No lift.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Great question.
That is a great, I never actually thought about that.
So
honestly.
I actually did everything magically internally, and what I call it is an internal miracle breast lift, if you will. So I am cinching the pocket internally. Again, this is scarless. I do kind of modify everything to go to the smaller implant, which we did. In the symastia, which is recreating the cleavage, that is also done internally, where I did have to use some biologic grafts in order to serve as barriers to recreate the cleavage. So this is somewhat of a complex surgery, but again, from the outside, no scars, and I think we got, you know.
Yeah,
Nice.
we definitely.
Do you have your dream cleavage now?
I do. That's why I'm glowing. I'm so excited. I haven't really worked out, you guys, because I'm like, I don't really want to. Yeah, I mean, it's just a mental thing. I think that's for me, where I'm like, I just don't want to mess them up. Like, they're beautiful, they're perfect.
Right.
But that's a great question, because I actually never really thought about that. Like, that's how trustworthy I am with this guy. Like, just whatever you got to do, because I learned obviously from my first, mistake and all of that. But that was definitely some good pointers as far as, and the pictures, I sent so many, you guys. Fran was like, all right, we get it. I'm like, no, you don't.
That's enough.
All of these, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, tell us a little bit about your experience with the staff and all of that. I know Frances played a really...
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, when I say it's family, like, Fran's like a friend of mine now. Dr. Park and Ashley are like family to me too. Like, every time I go in there, I go and get facials by Lisa and, Victoria. Like, she's been one of my friends. She comes to my, we go to church together. Like, it's just become such a community base. And that's all what you guys created, and I saw that and I was like, wow, this is something different. And that's where the caring and the love all really stems from. And, people feel that. You feel that, you see that, you experience it. And I think that's really what drawed me in and knew that I was in the right spot and I was under, good care. And it was so funny because this last surgery, like, I've never really been a big baby with surgeries. I'm always just like, okay, like, And this last one, it was so funny because I was like just about to go out and I'm like having a tear come out. And she's like, you're okay, baby. Like, you're okay, sweetie. We'll see you soon. I'm like, okay. I'm like, why am I crying? It was just so funny. But everyone takes great care. So I appreciate that so much.
Was it a lot easier of a recovery than your first time?
Oh, yeah. My boyfriend was like, will you sit down? Like, right when I got home. And I'm just like, no, I feel fine. I'm like up and at it the week. And he's like, no, you need to sit down. But honestly, I was fine.
That's good.
And that's the craziest part. The first surgery we did, I was fine within 3 days.
Right.
So that's when I knew, like, holy cow, the first thing that I went through was so crazy and drastically bad. Because I'm like, I shouldn't be down for that long.
Right.
Not being able to do anything.
Yeah, so. A quick comment on recovery, and both of you have been through a few. I will say that the first augmentation surgery is kind of the most painful because here we are recreating a pocket. And so generally my patients are out for about a week. Recovery, I would say generally speaking about 2 to 3 days of soreness, and then letting patients go back to the gym and work out in about a month. But revision surgeries are very much like you said, they should be a lot easier and we're not doing as much, so your recovery should be quicker.
That makes sense.
So yeah, that's a good point though.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for sharing your experience, because it's like, I know what I went through and it was tough. Hearing you talk about it too, and to hear another woman talk about the beginning stages of like how people would, make fun of you, and you lived with that for so many years, and you just wanted to feel comfortable in your own skin. I love to hear that.
I'm grateful to be here. So thank you for allowing me to just share my story with everybody and, be here with you guys and talk about it. Because I do see, it's crazy, I do see some women on, Instagram talking about like taking their implants out and having actually my situation. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, if they only knew, So like you said, it is a rare situation. And Dr. Park's your guy.
Thank you. I just want to do a quick shout out for her, Ashley is, her IG is at @ash_Cali,
Yeah.
ASH_CALI. She also has a website, thefitandfierce.com. Again, a WBFF Pro card. If she trains me, I'm going to get buff. And I think I will call her. We'll do kind of a joint
We'll do it
session
together.
with her.
Yes, it'd be so fun.
That would be fun.
And if you want to have an appointment with Dr. Park and check out our office, please feel free to look at us on body.com.
Or follow us on our IG at Face and Body Plastic Surgery. Feel free to call us at 1-888-900-9065. Again, 1-888-900-9065.
We'll see you next Sunday on Go Country 105, Beauty in the Blade, where beauty begins.
I think you guys are cute when you can be bent.
Oh my God.